All right. And up next, let's talk about props and why they're so useful and also so powerful. First, let's start by doing a little bit of spring cleanup, where essentially I just want to set up 3 variables with all of the values. So for author, title, and image, and where I have the book component, I want to access them. So pretty much the same thing. Again, we're just not hard coding anymore. And yes, I'll place it above the book list, and you'll see in a few videos why. So let me move this sucker up first. Then I want to do the same thing with the author. And now let's set up that image one. So const img is equal to, and let's just grab this string now. Copy and paste. And now where I have the source, what do? We set up the curlies. So now we're back in JavaScript land and we provide the variable name. Awesome. Then the same we're going to do with alternative. So let's just provide here title. And before we go any further, let's discuss parameters and arguments. And as a side note, you can actually take this code, set it up anywhere in the index.js, and effectively it's going to run. So if I go and inspect the console, I should see job and developer. So in vanilla.js, for every function, we can provide parameters when we're setting up the function. And then when we invoke the function, we provide the arguments. And then, of course, whatever logic we have, in this case is just a log, gets executed. Okay, hopefully we're clear on that. And now let me remove this code. So what does it have to do with React? Well, there also has to be some kind of way how we can pass the data down to our component. Because at the moment, yes, it's nice. Yes, we're using the variables and all that. But ideally, of course, you would want different books rendered in the browser, correct? So at the moment, we're pretty much rendering the same. But we need to come up with a way how we can pass data, different data, to individual components. So we have the same structure, but the data is going to be different. And the way we do that is by using the props object. So every component we create gets automatically this props object, which essentially is the parameter. Now we can call this a shake and a bake. It's an awesome choice, but a common convention is calling this props. So again, it's provided right away by default. So we don't need to do anything. So instead of creating a component and then saying, yeah, there's going to be a param, it's right away provided. So React effectively injects that. So if I type here props, I know that this props will automatically be passed down to me. And now let's go with log. And we have few places where we can log that. We can log it here in the function body, again, above the return. If you place anything after return, it's not going to run. Or we can do that directly here in the JSX. So we can go with console and log. Now I'll actually remove this one right away, but I just want to showcase. And you know what, there's going to be too many console logs, so I'll go back to 2 books for now. And then eventually we'll add more. So if you take a look at the console, you'll see 4 objects. Again, the reason why we have 4, because we have 2 console logs and we have 2 components. So if we do 2 times 2, yes, we have 4. And check it out. Now, for now, it's an empty object, but it's already a good start. That means that we'll be able to access something. Now, we have not provided that something. So we have an empty object, but it is an awesome start. And the way we provide those values is here. So again, props here when we set up the component, but then when we render the component, that's where we provide the props. And again, we'll start with the manual way where I can go here with job and then equals. And then if it's string, then we need to use the quotation mark. If it's a number or variable or whatever, then we need to provide the curlies. So in here, I can go with job developer. And as far as the second book, why don't we change things around? I'm going to say here random title. And then the second one will be number. Like I said, when it comes to numbers, we need to use the curlies. If we have a string, then we just use quotation marks. And if, let's say, we want to provide here the variable, same deal, curlies, and then we can access it. For now, let's just use the number. I'm going to say 22. And the moment I save, like I said, I will remove this log. There's no need to overcomplicate things. Now what I see in the console, job developer. So this is an object. That's the props object. And then for the second one, I have title and number. Okay, so this is clear. Now, how we can access those values? Well, just like any regular object. It's an object. These are the properties and these are the values. What do we normally do in JavaScript? We go with object.property, correct? Same deal over here. Now, since these are extra props, basically, since we're just testing, I'm going to add more paragraphs and I'll copy and paste. Essentially, the most basic way, we go here with the curlies. So we go back to the JavaScript land and we go with props job. Then we want to set up props. Again, we're referencing the same object. We go with title and then we go with props and a number. Let's save it, and don't care about the console right now, but you'll notice that basically our components now have some extra values. Now, one important thing, if you don't provide the prop, even though in your structure you're accessing it, you'll have nothing there. So notice how the first component has the job prop with this value. I don't see it anywhere in my second component. Why? Well, because it's not over here. It's not present in the second component. So that's very important to remember. The prop will be only displayed if it's actually provided. So the first one, it doesn't get the title or the number. Notice, nothing is rendered in the browser. Why? Well, because we don't provide them. So again, you'll have the structure, you'll provide the props, and then you'll be able to display them. If the prop is not provided, either you're not going to display anything or you'll get an error. Let's say if you're trying to access some kind of value that doesn't exist. Please keep that in mind. So that should do it for the generic setup. Again, we provide here the prop name, then we provide the value. Now let's use the author, title, and image. So instead of the testing ones, now let's actually provide those values. So I'm going to remove all of these paragraphs. Let's save, and then one by one, let's provide them. So what is the first value? Author. Now, as far as the prop name, does it have to match here? No. You can write banana. But when you're accessing, that's when you'll have to go with props.banana. So this is the name, this is the value, and yes. A common, of course, convention is to use the same one, but it's not always possible. So we just go with author, curlies, we go back to JavaScript, and then we provide the variable. Then the same thing over here, title is equal to title. And then lastly, what do we have? We have the image. Same deal, we provide all of them. And in order to speed this up, I'll grab this and I'll copy and paste. And once we have successfully set up all the props, now, of course, instead of accessing these variables directly, we need to go with props.image, props.title. And yes, of course, in the following videos, we'll take a look how we can shorten this up. But for now, object property. And effectively, it matches whatever we're passing here. So we want to go here with props.title. And then we want to go with props.author. Once we save, if everything is correct, we'll have the same list. But the difference right now, of course, that we're providing these values dynamically, which is really cool. But we also need to keep in mind that if we don't provide some specific prop, well, we're not going to render anything on the screen. Check it out. Since the second book component doesn't get the image, we just see the alternative. Hopefully that is clear. And in the next video, we'll take a look how we can make our setup more dynamic.